Hello everybody. We've completed our journey from the Wairaki geothermal, Lake Taupo, and across to Tongariro National Park, and looking at that general area of New Zealand as an experiment just to see how my YouTube skills might be going. And I'm reasonably satisfied with what has come about. I've had a few comments from different people. So in about 10 days time, I'll be heading up to Vietnam, and we can begin our journey together with the Vietnam Old Timers Travel Guide. So today is 26th of March, and as you know, there's been some massive changes in the world at the moment, up in the Middle East, and I suspect this is not going to be over anytime soon, and it's going to be some big changes in the world coming up. When I get to Vietnam, of course, I'll take you around to different places that I've been to before and some new ones. I'll be hopefully the flight gets out and I will land in Ho Chi Minh City on the 6th of April. A couple of days in Ho Chi and then up to Da Nang, where I'll stay for a little while. Da Nang, Hoi An and Hue. We'll give you a look at Phu Quoc, and we can talk about things like if you arrive in Hanoi, for example, which sometimes people do, or the other alternative is Ho Chi Minh City. There's things that you can do there, depending on where you land. From Hanoi, of course, you can spend a few days looking around. Most people go up to Ha Long Bay. Sap is a little bit further out, so it's not always an option if you're short on time. But Dragons Bay up near Ha Long Bay is a great destination. And then you can come down, you can look at Cat Ba Island, maybe one night on Cat Ba. Ninh Binh and Tam Kot are really great places to visit, and then you'd probably from there go back to Hanoi and go elsewhere in Vietnam. So it all depends on your time frame, and I think that even though we're in difficult times, I think you can still travel to Vietnam. It's a cheap destination. You can get out of your winter or get out of your rut, whatever part of life you're in, and you can go out and you can do things and experience new things. It's a relatively cheap destination, fantastic food, fantastic people, and I'd like to take you with me on this particular journey up to Vietnam. Now also, I'd like to share in another YouTube perhaps podcast, may be attached to this one or it may be separate, parts of my journey through life and some of the things, places I've been and things that I've done. And not only have I been up to Vietnam many times, I've probably been in 35 different countries, many of them more than once, and including Asia, the Middle East, Europe, of course. I spent 7 years in the United States and Australia and places like that, worked up in England and the UK. And I also have had various careers, spent some time in the New Zealand Army and time in the bush, of course, here as a professional hunter and trapper, agricultural contractor, retailer, importer, so many things. But one of the more important parts of my life was when I went up to the States in 1987. Now I started somewhere in here. We have I think everybody has a little bit of art in them. You know, when your 3-year-old goes to school or kindergarten and they start doing art. Well, I had a very good teacher. When I was 1958, that would be intermediate school, just before you go to high school. And he was a good art teacher, but he also had a photography club. And back then we had the old box cameras, box brownies, black and white, of course. And we used to develop our own films and make our own prints, and he taught us how to do photography. And so I would have been 12 at the time. And this was one of my very early photographs. It's of the Auckland Harbour Bridge, when they were building the Auckland Harbour Bridge. This would be in 1958. And I got on the ferry as a 12-year-old, and I went backwards and forwards all day long taking photographs of this, where they floated a big section of the bridge into place and got on a barge. It got lifted up by the tide and bolted into place, and that was the Auckland Harbour Bridge. There you go. 1958. My first venture into photography. And of course in photography I've gone through all the stages. When colour first came in, when the Super 8 movie projectors first came in, slides, of course. I've done hundreds of slides, taken thousands of photographs, and like I said, I think there's a little bit of art in everybody, and it comes in varying degrees, different forms. I first went up to the States in 1987, and my partner at the time, we'd known each other since 1967, but we never really caught up again until 1985, and then I went to the States in 1987, and she was this fantastic person. She was a Kiwi, New Zealander. She'd gone to the States in 1970. She'd gone to Johns Hopkins University, did a degree. She's probably the few European woman that I know of that said no to a US president, as in they were going to give her citizenship on the mall. Apparently presidents do that once a year, and they have maybe an African, and they might have a Asian person and someone from Eastern Europe. But they selected Kay as the token white woman, and she declined the offer. She didn't want to be the token white woman, and she had to fight for her place in academia at Johns Hopkins University back when she started in the 70s. She studied marine science, earth science, fluid dynamics, studied waves. She was at Wallops Island, did a lot of research for her PhD up there. And as a woman, she got discriminated against, which is what happened back then, you know. Wasn't anything new. But when I went back up there in 87, she was the assistant to the director of an art colony up in the Adirondack Mountains called Blue Mountain Centre for the Arts. And that was a fabulous place. It was on Blue Mountain Lake, up in the Adirondack Mountains. Wonderful people. And that's where I first met the African American artist, Valerie Maynard. Now, she has passed away now. She passed away at 85 in 2022, I think it was. But you can look up Valerie Maynard, wonderful African American artist. And she had a particular way of doing her art. And she became my mentor and teacher. And I started doing my art in a very similar way to what Valerie was doing. At the time, she was doing a series called No Apartheid Anywhere. And she's very much into African style art, and she did sculpture. She knew people like Toni Morrison and James Baldwin, and there's a lot of top flight artists and poets and painters came up to Blue Mountain, and that's where I first met Valerie, and we kind of collaborated in the work that she was doing at the time, and I started doing a series as well, and I was using similar method to Valerie. Found objects and we'd go to the dump and find things to use, cutouts and various ways of doing it, painting on paper. And I did a series called Future Shock, Modern Minorities, because I use a lot of Maori imagery because I come from New Zealand. It was just what came out of me, And art can be like a spiritual journey as well. And you kind of get in a groove, It's very interesting when you get into that place where you can become really creative and do a lot of stuff. I did Mechanical Man, environmental art. I was very interested in the environment. I was very interested in minorities because every country has one, a minority, either religious or racial. Like New Zealand, Australia, you name it. Every country has a minority. And Mechanical Man, of course, I did a whole series of Mechanical Man because we're very mechanical in the way we think and do and act throughout history, and nothing's changed to this day. I don't really want to get too much into politics, but with what's happening at the moment up in the Middle East, we can only hope that the next batch of politicians have integrity, honesty and integrity, and take us to a place that's much better than the place we've been taken to now. So I'd like to present this to you as well. So we'll do the travel blog, and I'll start here putting things together, and I'll begin to show you my art journey of what I produced in the States. From Blue Mountain Centre, Kay was very popular with people up there. A lot of high-profile people. They just loved her, Guys like Bill McKibben, who wrote his first book was End of Nature, and he's written many, many since then. Very high-profile environmentalist. Gregory Maguire used to come up there. He wrote Bewitched, I think it was, that became a musical, and Edith Konecki and lots of people. And a job opening came up at the MacDowell Colony. The MacDowell Colony is probably the premier art colony in the States, and that was in southern New Hampshire, Peterborough. And it was started by, it's called the MacDowell Colony because MacDowell was a composer, and after he passed away, his wife Marion started this colony, and they basically built studios, a little bit like Blue Mountain. They have all these studios. You're invited by a panel of your peers, if you're a writer, poet, painter, to go there, and you'll get a studio for a month, 2 months, cost you nothing, and you do your art and become creative. So Kay came there in, when did we go there? 1990. And she became the resident director at the MacDowell Colony, and we stayed up in Hillcrest, of course, which was Marion MacDowell's residence. And there's some fabulous studios there. There was Alexandra Library, and once again, a lot of very high profile people used to come there, top artists, And I was able to carry on my work there. I picked up a whole heap of American black walnut, and I like woodworking. I was making furniture. I was doing sculptures, and painting. I carried on with the painting, and Valerie used to come up there as well. She became a close personal friend of ours. And when we first went to MacDowell, our son Raymond was just about a month old. So it was an interesting journey for him, and we were there until 1994, and we used to spend a lot of time in New York, of course. They do a lot of fundraising, But we had some issues with the. We first learnt about how the rich people operate in America. You know, they don't like anybody getting in their way, and I used to kid the Americans on a little bit. You know, that they don't really have a democracy. They've got a choice between Mickey and Goofy, and he who has the most money wins, and that's pretty much how it is to this day, isn't it? But we had some issues, and you could probably find them, and there was articles in the Boston Globe and the local Peterborough paper that got squashed down, mainly because Kay, a woman of absolute integrity, didn't like the way that the resident director of the MacDowell colony was acting. She thought she could just send people in as that she wanted to be there, and they had board meetings. She would basically ignore what the board had decided and do what she wanted to do. And Kay, of course, wasn't having a bar of that, so they eventually got rid of her and laid her off. And we came back to New Zealand in 1994 and carried on the journey. So, like I say, I'd like to share what I've put together. I think it's time. I think it's quite important. The work that I've been working on, The Mechanical Man and the Future Shock, and it's pretty harsh work and not the sort of thing that everybody may want to look at. It's to do with starvation, and it's like I say, it was thought-provoking for me. It was just something, you go to a place, and a spiritual place, if you like, and produce this particular work. And it can happen when you're writing as well. I've also done a lot of writing, done a lot of poetry, some essays, and I'll probably share those with you. I'll make some blogs along the way, and I'll share those with you as well. And it's time. I'm looking forward to it, you know. I'm 81, so it's time for me to get this out there. And I think now, because of what's been happening in the last 2.5, 3 years, I've just got to put it out there and share it with you people. And if you like it, then like and follow and share. I guess that's how blogs work. I don't know much about them really, but I'll be finding out when I get up to Vietnam in a few weeks, and hopefully I can find people to help me put this together, because in a Western country, of course, it's too expensive, you know. I can't afford it. It costs a lot of money to hire professionals to do things for you. But I've had some contacts up there and people I know, and I know that they will help me find somebody that'll help me put this together, and it won't cost me 3 arms and a leg. So I look forward to sharing it. It's March in New Zealand now, end of March, and we're heading into autumn and winter. So Northern Hemisphere, you guys will be heading into summer. So don't be afraid to travel, guys. If you want to get out and do something different, do something new. You can be a single, you can be a couple, you can be a man, you can be a woman. I think Vietnam's a safe place. You may not be as old as me, but 65 on or 70. Don't let your family or friends distract you, which they quite often try to do. They want to shut you down and keep you at home, and there's the old saying, you know, if you don't travel first class, your heirs will. So I suggest that you do what you want to do, because there has been incidences that I've seen where family poke their nose in and start telling you what to do, what you can and can't do. They start pretending you're somehow not up to it mentally or physically. And hey, I'm no bloody spring chicken, and I'm not running around up the beach, but I'm still going, and intend to make this journey count. That's the door slamming, bit of a wind out there. So I finished with a little poem that I actually wrote a long time ago. In the newspaper, they were building a big power station down in Invercargill, a place called Manapuri Tunnel, and they're building an underground power station. And I think I must have been 18 at the time. I'd been in the bush all winter, so I wasn't any pansy, but I hitchhiked down there, and I went into their office at in Invercargill, and I was a pretty skinny little dude then, and they took one look at me and they said, "Hey, we don't take boys in here." So I had 20 quid in my pocket, 40 bucks, and I had to hitchhike all the way home again. And the fickle finger of fate, of course, intervened, and I caught a lift with the postman. And every second day he used to go into Benmore, another project they were building down there. That was just a normal hydro dam. And if I got the off day when he wasn't going in there. So if he had gone in there, I'm quite sure I would have got a job in Benmore doing something. But that wasn't his day, so I carried on and came back home and went on a different journey. And life's like that, life is many journeys. Each one a pathway from the past leading to the future. And on the way back, I stopped at Wairau, hitchhiking, sat on the grass bank. I ended up in Wairau. It's a military base. That's where you do your basic, out in the tussock and in the cold. And I wrote a little poem there. Very first one, 18. I've still got it. And it goes something like this. Autumn here is with us now. The trees, they show the way. From summer's green to autumn art, the leaves again will soon depart from that which gave them life. I know not why this is so. Surely it can only show nature's plan for all the earth of life, of change and rebirth. Nice talking to you guys. Maybe we'll meet up in Vietnam one day. Bye.